Kia ora whānau, kia ora te whānau Warriors fans. Welcome back to round 13. It's Sunday the 31st of May and we've got an absolute blockbuster coming up today or tonight at 8:15 p.m, which should be actually 9:15 p.m. New Zealand time. So yeah, Panthers versus Warriors on home turf. It doesn't get any better than this. Alright, whānau? It does not get any better. So let's have a look at the lineups for today, because we know that this is a big one we've all been looking forward to. Who's in and who's out? So you've got Jack Cole for the Penrith, Kalani going, he's in also, Liam Martin and Laurent Patia. You know, Liam Martin, definitely a good reserve there, or a good replacement. Kalani going, bit of a journeyman. Jack Cole, Laurent Patia, their best days are ahead of them, let's say that, eh? In for the Warriors are Adam Pompey. Some people will say, but that is because of the injury to our man, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, RTS. Unfortunately suffered a season-ending ACL injury. Do we ever run out of ACL injuries in the NRL? I don't think we do, but it's particularly the Warriors. They just seem to compound. We had Mitch Barnett last year, then we had Luke Metcalf last year, and then this year we went straight into Tanner Boyd, which was a heartbreaking injury, and now we have RTS, who would have made an amazing combination, was forming a great combination between himself and Alufi Khan Pereira. It's so heartbreaking for me because I felt like it was going to be, it was becoming a great edge over there, a great left edge. It only needs a Kalis Fatialofa to complete that left edge, and then you would have an edge that was equal to or even better than Ali Leatawa, Leka Halasima, and Dylan Watene-Zelezniak. I was hoping, because I saw, in the last few games, I've seen those two sides of the field equal each other. They've both been really good. So really sad for RTS to end his NRL career in this manner. I still think he had a lot more to give, and he was definitely giving it this year to the Warriors at left centre. So really sad about that. So Adam Pompey's taking his place. He's the reliable, dependable centre replacement. He's capable of the odd good plays, but he's solid. We know we can count on him to make his tackles, to be in the right positions, to cram up on the wing if he needs to, or to be able to spread out and chase the winger if need be as well. So yep, so some people don't like it, but Adam Pompey has replaced RTS, and it's great that that he's there for us. And we've got also in is Makaya Tafua, fantastic jack-in-the-box hooker, who I think, I'm sure that Sam Healy is looking over his shoulder and wondering, after next year, which is his last year of his contract with the Warriors, is he going to still be in the Warriors' plans? Is Tafua someone who's going to overtake him? At this point, I can say that he is very, very promising. He even comes in with some big hits to his resume. Makai Tafua, everybody would have seen that hit last week that he did in New South Wales Cup. Which pretty much maimed his opposition player. And then you've got, but in my opinion, Sam Healy is definitely our now guy. Wade Egan, he's got maybe a couple more seasons after this in him, before his body starts breaking down a little bit more. He'll be, 31, 32. So, um, Tafua, I think, will be our Sam Healy moving forward. Outs for both teams. Well, you got three of the biggest outs, which is from the Penrith Panthers, Brian To'o and Isaiah Yo, sorry, and Nathan Cleary. So those three big Origin players out. And then you've got, on our side, out was Eddie Yeremia Toyava. If you saw his injury last week, it did not look pretty. I'm hoping and praying that his injury isn't too serious. And then, you got Roger, who I've just spoken about there. So, the last time they played was on the 7th of August. And, the next time we play them is on the 7th of August, which will be round 23. So we've got 10 rounds to go. So while we were looking forward to this game over the last few weeks, to go up against the Panthers, we wanted to test, see where we were as a club and as a first grade team. But we've kind of been robbed of that a little bit because of those outs. Mostly from the Penrith Panthers. So you could look at it this way, that, following up from Origin, Ivan wants to keep his best three players, or three of his best players under wraps for a little while, keep them on ice so that they don't get injured with, another 10 rounds to go until we play them again back here at Go Media Stadium in Penrith, which is just down the road from me, by the way. Yes, that's how hardcore Warriors I am. I live just down the road from Mount Smart Stadium or Go Media Stadium. Okay, no, I just making a big thing about that, not a big thing about nothing. Anyway, just means I can get an Uber back from there very simply, if I want to, Anyway, so round 23. So I'm thinking, you could say that it's all to do with Origin and backups, because we're also not playing a couple of big players. Kurt Capewell played well for the Queensland side. He did come away with, with a blood bin. Had a bit of claret coming out of his eye and also other parts of him. So typical Origin player. And you got Mitch Barnett also. He didn't suffer any injury, and in fact he came off the bench. No, he didn't. He started, but he didn't play the whole game at all. So a little bit interesting, because there's a bit of talk there amongst in social media and amongst the media that Kurt and Mitch didn't want to be benched, or they didn't want to be rested. And I would say, that's got to do with that state of origin, sort of, that macho sort of, what really makes a seasoned Origin player is how well they back up from Origin in their club game the next week. So that's sort of almost like a rite of passage to be able to show to your teammates and to the fans that I can play Origin and I can still back up to my club game. Well, that era seems to be sort of over, as the coaches and the clubs have the last say. And Ivan has said, Nathan, Isaiah, and Brian, it's time for a rest, matos. Let some of those young blokes take over and see how they go, because they're pretty good in and of themselves as well. So, so let's take a look at the rest of this team, eh? Let's take a look at the rest of the team. So we got, all right. At fullback, you have Dylan Edwards for Penrith, and on the Warriors, you have Tane Tuaupiki. In the wings, you have Thomas Jenkins versus Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. And then you've got Paul Alamuti versus Alofiana Khan Pereira. You might say, Luffy will burn him for sure. But Alamuti, don't count him out. He's a very solid performer. And every time I've seen him back up for Penrith, he's done a great job. I don't know what his win-loss record is, but, it can't be bad. On the other hand, there's been talk about Luffy playing 60 games for the, in first grade and having 61 tries. So, it's a good little measure there. But Thomas Jenkins, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, these are two good wing pairs here. Despite Brian Tuttle not being there, but I think we have the edge in Luffy Khan Pereira. When it goes down to the centres, when you've got Isaac Tango and Luke Garner versus Ali Leotawa and Adam Pompey. Isaac Tango, very, very good player, international, playing for Samoa. And then you've got Luke Garner. He's no slouch, but you measure him against Adam Pompey. Adam Pompey probably slightly edges him for experience and the fact that the fact that Adam Pompey isn't an A-lister when it comes to the NRL. He can still, he's still got a little bit more, I think, than Luke Garner, perhaps. I don't know. Some people will disagree with me, and you can, because I don't know everything. But in the halves, you've got at first 5/8 Blaze Talangi and Chanel Harris Tavita. It's a good matchup, but Chanel has the experience and he's in hot form as well. So, yeah, kia ora to that one. Cheers, Chanel. Go hard, my brother. And then you've got sorry, I just lost it for a little bit there. Well, we've got it at halfback anyway. We've got Jack Colger for Penrith and we've got Te Maire Martin at halfback. We saw how easily and smoothly Te Maire fitted back into the side last week. This was his first week back from, dare I say it, another ACL injury at the club. But a long layoff he's had since last year, and he came back and slotted in as if he's been practicing with us and playing for, weeks and weeks. So that was an excellent plus for us, and I think he's got it over Jack Colger, his international experience, his Māori team experience as well. So I think Te Maire's got quite a bit of guile. He's not going to sprint away and out-sprint anyone like a Luke Metcalf will. And he's not going to, out-kick anybody in the game of forceback like Tanner will. But what he does have is he has guile. He is able to, have that sleight of hand as he did last week, scoring his try, dumming to everybody. Everybody sold it or bought the dummy, including myself. That doesn't mean you can call me a dummy, though, okay? So, I think we've got the edge there slightly in the halves. And it's going to be a good competition. In the forwards, you've got the old mates back together or against each other, Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. But James Fisher-Harris has really taken on the mantle of leader at the Warriors, especially with Mitch Barnett being out so much. He just carries that mana around him. He's not the loudest person. He's a very softly spoken man, but when he does speak, it's wisdom, and you just know it when you hear it. It's those kind of 1%er, bits of advice that he gives to people, and important things that people take for granted, not realizing that how well a drilled player James Fisher-Harris is. But yeah, he'll be there doing the 1%ers, and Moses Leota, he's also very good, but I just think James has it over him a little bit. At hooker, Wade Egan and Freddie Lussick, the second ex-Warrior playing, who's come up from the grades, and he's won a hooker spot, which is interesting considering he's been playing prop a few times quite a bit in the last year or so. But yeah, good to see him back in hooker. But like Kalani going, he just wasn't able to break it and break through to the first grade team on a regular basis at the Warriors. And then you've got Wade Egan, easily, somebody who was in some people's conversations for State of Origin 1, didn't make it. Reece Robson won that one. So, and I don't think anyone's unhappy with Reece Robson, but if he falls down, I think people will be, a bit confused and surprised if Wade Egan's name doesn't come up in conversation with Laurie Daly and the other selectors. So the other propping partner for Moses is Liam Henry. He's been there a while. Jackson Ford for the Warriors, leading the Daily M's. Well, he was until Cleary somehow got these mandatory points, even when he wasn't playing that well, and Penrith weren't. Well, they have been travelling well, but yeah, no. That's the angst of a Warriors fan, right? When we when one of ours seems to get gypped. Anyway, so that front row collision, or that front row confrontation, will be very, very interesting, and probably, you could say they cancel each other out almost, but I think, with the international, well, actually can't say that either. I think Wade Egan sort of like is the linchpin there, and I think we just have an edge over them in the front row. In the second row, you have Isaiah Papali'i and Liam Martin. All these Liams in the Penrith team. I don't know what's up with that. And then they're up against Leka Halasima and Jacob Laban, the young guns. I've been really impressed with Leka Halasima, and that'll be a really good head-to-head against Isaiah Papali'i, who was also a young gun in his own time, not in attacking prowess, but in power and tackling. He's always been a good tackler, and he's always had power in his running, but it went to a new level when he left the club and went to the Parramatta Eels, and sort of dipped again when he went to the Tigers, and then when he came back to Penrith, he found form again. And that can happen when you're in the company of top higher level players. It takes your game to a higher level too. And sometimes it's kind of like when I play pool. You play somebody who you should really smash, and instead you go down to their level. That can happen too. So I think Isaiah Papali'i, though, really good second row. Liam Martin, very, very good. And they'll be a good test for Leka Halasima and Jacob Laban, but I know Leka Halasima will more than hold his own. I'm hoping that he'll score a try tonight, because I would really like to see him score on Isaiah Papali'i. Just cause. Jacob Laban, out of the four, he's the least experienced by far. But he's been very solid. I'll be keen to see. I'll have a close eye on Jacob Laban on how he goes against Liam Martin and Isaiah Papali'i. And of course at number 13, Penrith, in all positions, they're no slouches with their replacement players. Lindsay Smith versus Aaron Clark, though. Aaron Clark's form is compelling. He provides that strength up the middle, but he also has an excellent offload, and he's got a very discerning eye when it comes to finding the right runner beside him, and also in timing his pass to that runner. He's very, very good, and we've made some really good purchases over the last few years, and Aaron Clark would be right there at the top. Interchange. This is another good one. Penrith, they're not behind anywhere, But here's the interesting one. I'll start at the top first, and then I'll head down to the bottom, and then that's when we get to the interesting side. So at number 14, we've got Jack Cole from Penrith versus Sam Healy. Healy, one of the best bench players in the league, I reckon. Definitely one of the best bench hookers. Versus Jack Cole, who is, sort of a newcomer. I don't know a lot about Jack Cole, to be honest, but From what I have, the little I have seen of him, there was nothing there to write home about, but, solid player. You've got at 15, Scott Sorensen for Penrith, the Kiwi. Um, what is he? Nephew of Kurt Sorensen and Dane Sorensen. So, and he has played a couple of games for the Kiwis, off the bench, I believe. And then you've got Tanisdale Smith, who's just been, he's one of our SG ball players from a few years back, who now is playing, more and more first grade, and at the very least plays New South Wales Cup. Interesting because he's on an upward curve or upward trajectory in his career, and Scotty Sorensen, well, I think he's looking for a new club next year, isn't he? Or he's taking a downgraded contract, something like that. But he's, they're both at different stations in their careers. Then you got Billy Phillips, another sort of newish player for Penrith versus Dimitri Vaimaunga, a beast. Dimitri, I mean, you saw him against the Eels. Also, again, against, against the Dragons also. From the back fence, oh my goodness, he was a destructive force when he runs from the back fence. So, yeah, he wins that one easy over Billy Phillips, in my opinion. He's just a massive momentum changer when he comes off the bench, that is. Then you've got Luron Patea. So there's another Māori from down the line, up against Marata Niukore on the interchange. Of course, they don't go against each other in the actual game. They play different positions. But Marata, from what I've seen of him in the New South Wales Cup, his career definitely is at an ebb. He's not the force he once was. Even when he started with the Warriors, and even his second year, he's just not. He's had a lot of injuries. You could say that, right? So that sort of makes up for the fact that probably with the other three on the interchange, we definitely kick butt on the Penrith Panthers. But here's where it gets interesting, right? Number 18. The 18 and 19 interchange players. Of course, you're not supposed to use the number 19 for the Warriors because that was retired because of Mad Butcher. But Billy Scott and Kalis Fatialofa. Billy Scott for Penrith. Again, another one of these juniors that has come up. I don't know a lot about Billy Scott, so you can tell me if you know. But I would say probably nowhere near as promising as Kalis Fatialofa. People think, there's some fans, out there that are saying, oh, you're just talking up Kalis Fatialofa because of his famous dad or grandfather, Peter Fatialofa, right? Very famous man in Auckland. People of my age and above all remember Peter Fatialofa as a rugby player for Auckland and Samoa. But that's not the reason why Kalis Fatialofa is highly touted and highly talked of. It's because on that left edge as a second rower, he is a fantastic runner. He runs some amazing lines. He's also got a good tackle on him too. He can definitely take down some of the best. But his running, he runs a very, very good line. He's got a step on him as well, and he's just got this ability to in and away wingers, and in fact sometimes he does play at centre to replace centres in the past. Like I think it was Patrick Moimoi he replaced a few times back in Flag and New South Wales Cup. But yeah, no, he is not overhyped. He is the real deal. He is a fantastic second rower. I just don't know what we're going to do when Bishop Neal comes of age as well. And there's a few other forwards who are going to make their mark over the next 2 to 3 years. So it'll be interesting to see. And here's the one that's most interesting. Casey McLean came off the bench in State of Origin on Wednesday night, and he is on the interchange. that spells danger for the Warriors. And I really wonder, you know, how that's going to impact the game, because this fella here, I don't even know his limit. I don't know. I say the sky is the limit, but where's the sky with this fella? Big, strong boy, right? Big, strong Kiwi. And I haven't yet seen anybody run him down from behind, and I haven't seen anyone fully suppress him for the whole game. He's got a step on him as well, which he hardly ever has to use because he just runs over the top of people. He's a big, tall lad, so he's able to actually reach over people, and as he does that, he lunges forward and brings momentum to his whole body and to his whole action, and very often ends up over the line in places where you're thinking, oh no, he's going to be caught well short of the line. No, he makes it over the line and he scores quite easily. He makes rugby league look easy for big players. And that's Casey McLean, right? We've got Luke Hansen, you know, good, honest toiler, good, honest guy who earned his spot, back against Cronulla. Sorry, was it Nulla? No, it was against the Knights. And, there was a win for the Warriors, but he started the game at number 6 and he looked okay. He didn't look out of place. He didn't dominate, but he didn't need to dominate because Tanner Boyd was doing such a great job running the show. And so Luke Hansen, good player to come off the bench. Kalis Fatialofa, we've got such firepower. We've got such a great, interchange there. Overall, we've definitely got it over them, but I do wonder, because Casey McLean, like I said, he came off the bench in Origin, and so he's probably going to be quite fresh coming into this game, and I just wonder how quickly he's going to be inserted into the game. Is he going to get, 70 minutes? Is he going to get 60 minutes, 40 minutes, half an hour? But what's he going to get? He's the only player actually out of all of them that that kind of scares me when it comes to the result of this game. To a lesser degree, Paul Alamuti, not because I think he's better than any of our wingers, because he's not, but he does. He's one of those players that plays for Penrith, a bit like Jack Cogger, where sometimes he plays above his weight and he seems to spur the team on with his antics, and so I'm a little bit worried about that. But I mean, you look at this game head to head, and I think we've got it over them quite easily. And then we got in reserves, as I said, Kalani going and Makaya Tafua. But they are without Isaac Yeo. They are without Nathan Cleary, and they are without, they've got Dylan Edwards. He's another one I'm worried about. But they don't have Yo or Nathan Cleary. Those are the two big ones that I'm most concerned about. So yeah, what do you guys think? How are we going to go? The game is now, what is this? We're almost 6 o'clock. It is 3 hours and 20 minutes away. So looking forward to a big one from the Warriors. I just hope we bring our A game. It's an away game, and I think that's probably why Webby's kept Kurt and Mitch out of it, because they had such a brutal, it's a brutal game, Origin, but also the fact that the Warriors have had how many games on the road now? It feels like we live away from home. But because, we've had so many away games and we've been away, I think Webby just decided we want as fresh a bodies as possible for this game. And I think that's where he's going. It's not because he doesn't like Luke Metcalf, which I've only just mentioned now. And of course, he's the big omission for the Warriors. People thinking that because Tanner Boyd's out, and that Luke Metcalf would come back into the halves. Well, I'll tell you, if the halves trip up and we lose this game, I can guarantee you Metcalf will be in the next game, because that's what the competition is like in the Warriors team, and that's why, we had this debacle with Tanner Boyd versus Metcalf, when it's not really like that, but what it really was is that the Warriors wanted Metcalf to play alongside Tanner Boyd, get into some form and play alongside him at 6, which for some people like myself think is actually his best position, but he doesn't think so. He wants to play 7, whether that's because he just wants to have a number 7's, a dominant number 7's salary, or whatever, I don't know, but or maybe he just believes, I want to be 7, so whatever, I don't know what's inside his head, but he's not playing, and that's our massive omission. But when you measure that up against Brian To'o, Isaiah Yeo, and Nathan Cleary, you would say that Penrith have lost the most firepower, and we've actually, had the most firepower. We have the most firepower out of both teams. We should win it. However, I am a little bit worried about Dylan Edwards inspiring a win. I'm a little bit worried about Casey McLean. And this was just PTSD from being a Warriors fan for so long during the up and down volatile periods, eh? But hey, look, we are doing well. We beat the Dragons last week. It wasn't pretty, but we did the job. We won by 30 points. What more can we ask for? It was clinical, professional, but not exactly pretty. And just one thing we need to come to terms with, I think, as Warriors fans, is this: we are not the same team that we used to be, and that the media are used to. We have a completely different identity now. Back in the days where, some of my favorite players like Ali Lautiti, Clinton Torpy, even Sione Famuina, Jerry Siu, Brent Webb, I'm going through a lot of them, aren't I? Francis Melly, even Henry Fa'afili was one of my faves. Those days are gone. When you know the truth now about how those people were, they were not the ultimate professional. They were people who fitted football into their lives, and it wasn't the be all and end all. Especially for our PI boys, God, church was very important to them. Today's day and age, everyone is connected, everyone is highly motivated, everyone is self-motivated, and it's reflected in our young guys that come through. They're very well drilled. They're professional. They have they have what it takes to make it in first grade. And so with Lukey Metz gone, not playing at the moment, some people are reading quite a bit into it and saying that it's Lukey Metz being punished by Webby. I don't think it is. Look, I think that's all over. The business side is over. But what Webby is saying is that he, in his team every week, he wants somebody who's ready to give it 100%. He wants, he's created this massive pool of fantastic professionals. So in order to actually optimize that machine, you have to keep the people who are performing the best there, and to give everybody a fair chance. If you drop your form at all, somebody else is going to come there and just snap up an opportunity. So that's what it's about. So Lukey, he's been injured. He had another injury after his comeback, so he's still got to make himself, match fit again. So let's not think that, this is all a big conspiracy against Lukey Metz. On a down low level, perhaps he is, but that's a player-coach relationship, and that's a club player relationship. I'm sure that if Luki Metz makes it back into this team, he's going to give it 100%. And we're going to be flying, right? And we'll have Luki Metz, we'll have Te Maire Martin, and we'll also have Chanel Harris-Tavita, and we'll also have Luke Hansen knocking on the door. So don't worry, we're going to make it. And I think this is definitely our year. It's our year, whānau. It's our year. Che. Anyway, that's my little che for the evening. Man, I hope you fellas enjoy the game. We're in great form. I think we're in even better form than 2002 and 2003. We may not have exactly the same talent as we did back then, but I think actually when you look at it, Leka Halasima, Kalis Fatialofa, Aaron Clark, these are classy forwards that don't have the same weaknesses that some of those great attacking forwards had back in 2002, 2023. So I think the future looks great for us, and I think we are definitely the real deal this year, and I think if we don't make it to the final, it will only be through too many injuries. I do not think that we're going to drop the ball at all. I think that we would just run out of too many halves, I think, and I think when it comes down to it, that will be the only thing. I really think this is our year. Even though we've lost all these players, I think we're capable of doing it. Rocco Berry is back this week too, playing New South Wales Cup. So, you know, there's another player to add to try and put him in the left centre, I think. I think Ali Leotawa has done enough this year to say, hey, look, I'm the right centre. And therefore you're looking at Adam Pompey and Rocco Berry to fill, the left wing, left centre. Also, you'll have Kalis Fatialofa there at a pinch, but that would be really last resort because he hasn't even got a first grade gig yet. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to, whānau. I'm really grateful, and I'm just going to say, up the wars! Kia ora. Love you, whānau. Have a great time, eh? And, please share this video. Pop a like, subscribe if you liked it. Che.